Welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying.
The only podcast to celebrate the work of actors in understudy roles.
Understudying demands tons of preparation with minimal rehearsal.
Or sometimes none at all.
But it can end in triumphant glory.
In these conversations, we will amplify the diverse voices of actors who have understudied. We want to hear about the actor's technique, experience, and journey.
As well as whatever's on our mind that day. Welcome to You're On in 5. I'm Elana Elise, one of your hosts, and you may know me from something if I had remembered to think about what I would say today, but I didn't.
Oops. I'm Scott Sava. You might know me from Rosenberg, a historical thriller that opens tonight in the time that we are, but in the time that you're listening to this, it will have closed 2 months ago. So, yeah. Our guest today is Connar Brown. You might know her from the SpongeBob SquarePants Musical by Co-Candy Productions at the Chopin Theater. Welcome, Connar.
Hey, welcome, Connar.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we're excited
Happy
to have
you.
Thank you.
We're just going to kick it off with our standard first question. What was your first understudy gig?
Yeah, so I had honestly kind of forgotten about this until this question. Technically, my first understudy role was in high school. We were doing Avenue Q Jr., and I was Nikki's right hand, but also Kate Monster's understudy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever go on?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No.
okay.
I maybe had to step in for like one rehearsal, but there was no real
I
anything.
can't even begin to conceptualize Avenue Q Jr.
Right?
Was it appropriate? You could just slap Junior on there and be like, now we can do this. What?
Yeah. So they, instead of the internet is for porn, it's my social life is online. They definitely take out you can be as loud as the hell you want, and as well as girlfriend who lives in Canada. And then they cut some like dialogue scenes, but we actually added one back in. One of the scenes that was cut that we added back in was the scene where they get Kate Monster drunk by drinking Long Island iced teas.
Oh my gosh. And what about I Can Make You Feel Special?
That is surprisingly in it. But instead of something, I don't know the specific lines, but instead of like her going, yeah, they're real, and I think her line of like, I can tell just by looking that you've got it hard. They changed those lyrics. I don't remember what it is, but yeah, they're like, we can still have a hooker.
That's bananas. Also, I'm not sure that was the name of the song, listeners, but she knew what I was talking about.
No, that was good. You got it. That was it.
Okay, awesome. That's incredible. So did you ever, did you have to do, what'd you do? Did you have to go on for Kate Monster is the question.
No, I didn't have to go on for Kate Monster. Luckily, as a high schooler, I was no, we didn't really have any like rehearsals or anything for it. Truly, I think it was more just to kind of save their butts. I think they've had some illnesses go around in the past and they didn't have anyone, so it's like, oh, let's have an understudy. And I like to say as well, I think it was kind of like a little bit of a test for me because I was a new student that year. So I think they're like, oh, we like her, but we don't know necessarily like if we can give her like a lead this first year. So
was it a performing arts high school?
No, it was an IB high school in Atlanta, with just luckily a very good theater program. Very grateful for it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So was there any did you feel like there was any expectation that you might go on, or you might even be asked to show what you've like prepared for Kate Monster?
I guess the one instance I can think of was there was a rehearsal that I found out literally on the day as I was in rehearsal, that our Kate Monster wasn't gonna be there. And I'm like, so you're just gonna do the scene, okay? Like, oh, Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember I was a good noodle. I did go over her lines and everything and kind of knew the blocking, but I was very self-conscious at the time, and so I made sure to still have like the script, the books, and I was just like reading off the script but making sure the puppet was active. But then also what was funny is then immediately I'd have to get off the Kate monster and then go and do Nikki's right hand because they were in the scenes right after each other.
Oh, wow. Well, that's exciting for high school.
I know. It is pretty cool.
Were there other like were all the roles understudied, or was it just like this situation for you?
No, I think there were more understudies. Yeah, pretty sure.
Wow,
I don't
so
think it was just
cool.
me, no.
That's crazy that you had that experience in high school.
Yeah. Pretty fun.
Yeah. So after that, what was your next understudy gig?
Doobie Doobie Moo. Like, so Doobie Doobie Moo was kind of my first professional understudy gig.
That's
So I
awesome.
was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. So how was it different, do you think?
So
The
different because I had
experience.
to actually now think about being the understudy. And plus, with Doobie Doobie Moo, I was just an external understudy. So I really got to just focus on the role of Cow. That's who I was understudying. And it was also, we actually had rehearsals and could learn the track of who we were understudying. So those are probably big differences. Plus, I was getting paid. So that's also a big difference too.
That is a
Definitely.
big difference.
Yeah, and for our listeners at home, I was actually in the main cast of Doobie Doobie Moo.
Yeah.
And so I got to see Connor work firsthand, and because you did go on for Cow, right?
I did. And so with Doobie Doobie Moo, I remember there was no guaranteed performances, but I was one of the first ones to go on. Luckily, I think I had maybe like a 2-day notice or something. I remember that she had this notice and was saying, hey, be on the lookout. This is probably going to happen. So I at least was able to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got to go on for one of the school matinee performances that they had.
Yeah, you killed it too. I was so
Thank you.
impressed by you during that whole process.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That is nice. So you did in high school. I see you're a little youthful. You're younger than me anyway. In between the high school experience and Doobie Doobie Moo, do you feel like you learned anything specific that you were like, oh, I can use this in as an understudy, and then so that you can just carry on with both of them? Are there things you learned as an understudy that you have transferred to your work when you're a principal?
Yeah. So I guess kind of in regards to specifically understudy work between Avenue Q and Doobie Doobie Moo, truthfully, not really. I think with high school, it was just kind of like, oh, I'm really just trying to focus on my track, but I just know that Kate Monster is behind me, and I really don't think there's going to be an opportunity for me to perform. And then many years later, I didn't do understudying for a while. But I was still performing and acting and just being in the theatrical arts. So I kept up that creative bug. And then with Doobie Doobie Moo, it was really just kind of like a, why not? Like, this should be fun. I've never really, well, at the time, I never really understudied before. Let's see how it goes. So it was just kind of a fun thing to try. And then in regards to things that I've just kind of kept up, well, okay, as a general learner, I very much like to watch. I'm a learner by visual and also by doing. So it's just kind of an interesting experience to sort of just watch the show. Like, I would go to as many rehearsals as I could and just see what was going on. And it was also kind of an interesting experience for me, at least as an understudy. I don't know what it was like as a principal, but the playwright was there and involved, and the show was adapting. So there were times where the script would change. And we just kind of, as the understudy, get like, here's the new script. And we go, oh, what happened? What happened? So I guess just kind of a main thing that I learned with Doobie Doobie Moo and understudy was how much of a visual learner I am and how much I just need to be in the room and see it. Or very fortunately, all the choreography was recorded. So we got to watch it at home and do it at home if needs be. And we even got an understudy vocal rehearsal, which was really good.
Have you understudied something after Doobie Doobie Moo?
Yes, so after Doobie Doobie Moo, I got to work with Scott again. And I got to be an understudy with Scott this time for I Promised Myself to Live Faster with Helena Handbag. And so for that one, I understudied Space Nun 2 and also a puppeteer track. So kind of now a little bit of a step up from Doobie Doobie, where I was just the cow. Now I was 2 tracks.
Look at you. Look at you.
I know.
And did you go on?
I did. So for this one, was nice as well. They kind of asked all the principal cast, like, hey, we really want the understudies to have a night. Is there a night you're willing to give off? And so I was fortunate that I got 2 nights of each track. Lolly, who was the main principal for the puppeteer, had like a little fun puppetry thing at the Field Museum and was like, I could take these 2 days off. I was like, sure, great. And then Taylor originally had the 1 night off, but then went, oh, you know what? Actually, I can take this day off too. So I got 2 performances from each track, which was very nice. I learned as like an understudy, two nights is very nice because the first one is sort of like you're just getting used to it. And then the second night you're like, okay, I get it now. Now I'm feeling more comfortable.
Right. That's pretty dope.
That was like just one of the most inclusive experiences I've ever had as an understudy.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I was also assistant directing that show, so I was there.
You were.
Regardless. But we had, and we might have discussed this in the previous episode a little bit, but we had rehearsals over the tech weekend when the actors moved into the theater space. We were back at the rehearsal space rehearsing the show just amongst ourselves. And there were, I had plenty of opportunities to jump in for my overstudy.
You did.
Did you too? Or I don't recall.
No, for the general rehearsals, I didn't. I think there's like one or two. I think Taylor had like a cold or something, so I had to step in. But there were some times where the rehearsals were kind of, everyone was doing their part really well and there's some free time. And then JD, our director, would be like, you want to just do it? Space Nuns, you want to go do the space scene? I'm like, okay, sure. But yeah, oh my goodness, those frickin' understudy runs, basically when the actors were in tech, was so good, was so helpful. Like, because that show had some choreography, it had puppets, it had combat, it had intimacy, it had a lot. So it was very helpful to be hands-on as frequently as we did. And then when the show was running, we even got to move into the space on matinees and pretty much do the show in tech.
Yeah, we had full understudy rehearsals with tech, which I didn't realize that there could be understudy rehearsals without tech. That's what we did for birthday candles at Northlight. And that was really a case of the stage manager. There was also, in addition to the stage manager, there was a light board op and a soundboard op. So they couldn't just pay them to come in for a dress rehearsal or for an understudy rehearsal.
And usually that's covered. I mean, people feel like that's covered in the put in, right? So if you get a rehearsal in the space, you get to do all the movement stuff, but your tech as an understudy usually is the put in.
Yeah, and I mean, for that show in particular, it wasn't much of a technical show, so it was we while nobody went on, we all could have very easily. We were very prepared.
Yeah, this was I just really like hearing about that your shared experience. Every time we talk about it, excuse me, I promised myself to live faster. There's a little something more about that rehearsal process with the understudies that um it just sounds like it worked exactly the way it should for the
Mm-hmm.
benefit of everyone involved, including the promised performance with the main cast, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
everybody, as I understand it, all the understudies had a night regardless of anybody going out. But in your offering, Connor, that those two were like, hey, I gotta do these things, like the reasons, um like now what people are coming to understand the value of understudies, right, is that so they could go and do those things without the
Mm-hmm.
stress, right, and just arrange absences because they knew that there would be understudies to do the work. And I think that's just an overall really powerful system that
Yeah.
they've set up over there to support, because having the understudies support it that well is actually having the cast support it that well,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think people, or they're coming around to it, but it's a really slow realization that it's that important.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know about you, but like for an understudy, I always appreciate or knowing, like I always love guarantees, not for like the fun, selfish thing of like, oh, I get to go on, but just mentally, you're like, okay, this is the day I need to be prepared. Obviously, you should be prepared on opening, like you never
Mm-hmm.
know. But at
Mm-hmm.
least mentally, you're like, okay, this is the day. I'm prepared. Let's go.
Right,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
I'm really good with deadlines. Like if somebody gives
Mm-hmm.
me a firm deadline, then I'm great.
Oh,
But if
yeah.
it's like a iffy deadline, like because I feel like opening night is kind of an like
It's an iffy.
if you have to, like if
Mm-hmm.
we really need you to do it, then you got to be ready. But it's also like usually by that time, very little resources have been spent on preparing the understudies.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, understudy rehearsal starts after opening.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, that was a great experience for
It
that.
was. So far, definitely my top understudy experience.
Awesome.
So, your next understudy after that was a big one. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, okay, so technically, if you want, I had a swing
Oh,
role actually before that.
what?
Yeah, where we kind of overlapped truthfully with what Scott was talking about, SpongeBob the Musical rehearsals. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a show called Hold On to Your Butts, and it was a 2-person shot for shot parody retelling of Jurassic Park, where so it was 2 actors playing everything. Dinosaurs, all the characters,
Oh, that's
objects,
amazing.
cardboard frames, like everything. So I was the swing for both actors.
Wow.
So I knew the whole show.
And there
And so
was
it's
no time between I Promised Myself to Live Faster and SpongeBob.
yeah,
How did
no.
you, how?
Right.
So they're from New York, so it's kind of like a traveling thing. So the rehearsals were actually in the day.
Oh,
So there were
okay.
times where I would there was like a good 2 weeks where it was like rehearsals in the day and then immediately get on the Brown line and get over to SpongeBob rehearsals. But yeah, with the butts, Hold On to Your Butts, it was like a week. It was like a week intensive of rehearsals. And that was one where it was mostly me just like watching.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, they were like, "Hey, do you want to like do it? You want to like run through it? Do you want to try it?" So there are times where I just come in early and then run it with the directors and the original. Honestly, it was like the original cast. Nick, who did it, came also and was helping tour it. And so I just did both tracks with him.
That's awesome.
Just like, all right, here's the track for this one. All right, 5-minute break. Then we're gonna do the other track.
But you never had to go on officially.
Yeah, I didn't ever have to go on. Kind of, this one was a little bit where I was like, kind of fortunately, I was like, there's SpongeBob going on at the same time. I'm okay not going on. And this one was, I knew I was also pretty much not going to go on because it was once a week at IO Theater for like about a month-ish. So I was like, okay, usually when it's a once a week show, typically the actors have enough time to rest and get ready for the next show.
I'm surprised they would even have understudies for a show like that.
I mean, it was a pretty physically demanding show.
Yeah.
And if one of them's gone, like if one of them does get sick or falls down the stairs or something, then you can't do the show without another person.
True.
So I guess that's why.
Yeah.
That would be the reason we usually have understudies.
I guess I'd say because especially like IO or some of the places where
and one night a week
people are doing more sketches and stuff like that. Yeah, and the one night a week. Yeah, that there would only be 4 or 5 performances.
Yeah.
But that's great that you got that opportunity.
Yeah.
Was it touring as well? Like,
I guess not really touring. It started in New York, and I think they had brought the show to IO before, like almost 10. I think it was like 10 years ago, almost.
Okay.
And then IO wanted it back for a little bit, so I said, okay, cool. And I think the props honestly have been left there, so I think there's potential talks of just having it be a show that pops up once in a while. So who knows?
That's cool.
Who knows?
Yeah.
You mentioned that daytime rehearsals were helped you be able to do that. Are you a full-time actor?
Pretty much. I like to be. I like to say that. I guess my technical job right now is I'm a freelancer for video editing, directing, and producing, and making little fun social media marketing reels. So hit me up if you need some social media, if you need a demo reel. But it allows my day to be flexible, for sure, because for me, acting and theater is what I am doing, what I want to do, what I want to keep doing. So that's my first priority, and I make sure that my schedule is flexible and open. Yes, it has its downs sometimes, up and down, but it's a risk.
Awesome.
You can do it. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
For as long as you want to. When did you Scott likes to call it the aha moment. Like, when did you know that acting was what you wanted to do?
Yeah. So I was very fortunate, and my whole family really is just kind of very supportive of the arts. My grandfather pretty much founded the theater program at Virginia Tech. My parents did like community theater and theater in college, and met in a cast party of the Mikado in college. And so I've just kind of always been a theatrical person. But I guess I like to say that my real aha moment of this is what I want to do is it was like, I think 3rd grade, and there was this little bit of an assembly where basically the next year we were able to choose electives. So it was kind of like a assembly presentation of, what electives do you want to do? Here are some samples. And the theater program had their moment, and I'm pretty sure it was like 60-minute Macbeth or something. Like, it was one of those like fun, speedy, short, kind of very comical plays. And I was like, this is what I'm choosing, this elective. And I've pretty much done theater ever since.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are there any roles that you think, and it's maybe not at this point, but that you think you would never understudy, even if you would do them if you were cast principally, but that you just wouldn't understudy?
For me, and I personally am not super comfortable or have done a lot of like Shakespeare. So probably understudying a Shakespeare play, I'd probably not do. I'm also not one for like Greek tragedies. So probably not one of those. I like to basically, for me, it's got to be a show that I will have fun doing. just even if it's learning lines on my couch and there's no guarantee. If I don't have fun, then why do it?
Yeah, that's a good philosophy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what happened when SpongeBob came around?
Oh my goodness. Well, so I even remember when we were in rehearsals for I Promised Myself to Live Faster, and JD was like, I have my next project. I can't say. And then I overheard them was like, Pirates. I was like, JD, what's the next show? And they're like, it's SpongeBob. I was like, JD, I'm going to audition for SpongeBob. And so honestly, even before that I could submit, that JD asked, like, so who do you want to be considered for? And I was like, JD, can I be considered for SpongeBob? And I think JD had a little bit of like, yeah, okay. Like, okay, Connar. I mean, not that bad, but like, okay. I remember JD kind of saying that they're thinking about it, and they went, wait a minute. I see it. So it was the audition. I went in. I danced a little bit. I did some mediocre tapping. We did our. It was a self-tape for vocals, and then I got cast as the mayor, also security guard, also Krabby Patty Fish, also many more. But understudy SpongeBob. And I was very excited.
Oh, wow. Did you get to go on as SpongeBob?
I did. I got to go on twice. I got to go on twice. Yes. So that was very fun.
That's awesome. Scott, did you see her as SpongeBob?
No, I didn't. I went on a night when like there were 2 or 3 other understudies going in. Because
SpongeBob had many understudies and swings go on.
Yeah, and not necessarily planned outages, right? Like we did for Live Faster.
No, so for some, there were planned. For me in specific, no, it wasn't planned. And then I think a lot, even though there were some planned performances, then there became more unplanned performances.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what happened?
We had a lot of, basically, this summer, there was like a little bit of a COVID resurgence and some like summer illnesses and colds, and it hit our cast. So many people were getting sick last min, or because like they got they had COVID or they got exposed to COVID. So we just had to take all those security measures. But there was just a lot of last minute swings and understudies going on.
How last minute?
Oh, there was one where I was like getting in the car. Someone was carpooling me to the theater, and we got the email being like, hey, someone was exposed to COVID. Like even for me, when I found out I was going to be on as SpongeBob, I didn't even hear that until it was like maybe 2 or 3 p.m. On the day.
What happened then? Like, what was your day like after that?
Right.
Oh my goodness. Well, so I guess a little bit of context. I had a little bit of a heads up in a different way. It was like I think it was the Thursday performance. Frankie, who was SpongeBob, after the show was like, hey, just want to give you a heads up. I might just need a nap. I might just need food, but I wasn't feeling well by the end of this show, so just heads up. So I was like, okay, good. And then luckily kind of that whole Friday, I didn't really have anything going on, so I just kind of went through everything, the songs, the lyrics, the blocking. So I was just kind of prepared that Friday in case of anything. And then luckily Frankie was fine. Then the next day, he, poor thing, kind of hurt his back. And then, I got the text at like 2-3. It was like, hey, you're going on tonight. Break legs. And I went, oh, I literally dropped everything, just grabbed the script, went through all the stuff, and then pretty much ate and went to the theater.
Is
and
that
just
the closest time to like you having to
oh
go on?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
You're
That's
Um,
on in
good.
5 hours, is what it was.
Pretty
Right.
much.
Exactly.
Pretty much. So, yeah, luckily all my other understudies were, well, besides Doobie Doobie, guaranteed. So this one was very much like a last minute, oop, here you go.
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
And since you were an internal understudy, somebody had to take your role as well, right?
Yes, yes. So I did feel bad. It was so funny too because Amelia Bell, she was the swing for my track. Um, I told her to like, hey, just be on standby. Frankie isn't feeling well. We might go on Friday. And so literally that Saturday, she texted me and she's like, hey, so is Frankie okay? Like, is he thinking like he's gonna be on tonight? And I'm like, oh yeah, he said he was fine yesterday. Then it's like 2 hours later, Frankie's like, I'm off tonight. And I went, Amelia, JK, get over here.
So did you get any kind of put in before the run?
Before the run, not an official put in rehearsal or run. It was kind of just like, what moments do you want to run? So it was kind of a little bit of an ask, truly, for some of the actors being like, hey, I'm going to the theater now. If anyone's available, I would appreciate you coming and doing some moments and scenes. So there were specific like major prop moments that I really wanted to run and go through with people. In regards to just kind of the overall understudy preparation, it was more like office hours, sort of like we had an assistant director. It was also Leo, who also did I Promised Myself to Live Faster. And it was just like, hey, I'm gonna be at the theater from like 4 to 6 this day. Come and we'll work whatever you want, and TBD who comes, we'll do whatever. So I made sure to go to all of them. And we just kind of worked moments and scenes for people, especially ones who knew that they were going on or didn't know if they were going on, but like, I haven't done this track in a while, so let me learn the choreography.
Yeah. Were there a lot of people who were on like multiple tracks?
For the understudies, it was more all of us understudies were internal understudies. So when the principal tracks probably had more kind of various characters, but I do believe every understudy was just a role. But then our swings had obviously multiple roles to cover. Yeah. Because it was sort of the classic when one of the principals goes in, the understudy goes in, who might have also been a minor principal. So now the swing comes in.
Yeah. Was there any kind of crazy, fun, disastrous stuff going on with understudies, since you did have so many going in throughout the...
Oh, yeah.
Anything you can share? Anything you feel comfortable sharing?
I would say this was the most chaotic day. This was a performance where we already had all of our swings possible on. So just already know that going on. And so we had our understudy for Patchy the Pirate on. And bless her heart, unfortunately, she was feeling kind of ill. She sort of lost her voice a little bit at the start of the show. And we're like, well, we don't have anyone to cover you. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to cut all the Patchy the Pirate moments at the beginning. It doesn't really have anything to do with the plot of the show. So we're going to cut that out. All you need to do is focus on just being a body and the choreography, and for you to say rock and roll when you're the Electric Skate 3. So we're doing the show. Kind of midway through Act 1, they aren't feeling well. I think it's like a mixture of feeling ill, and I think I get it. Like, I think stress and just kind of the nerves of like, oh my gosh, they're doing this, like people are relying on me, and oh, I feel bad. Like, just kind of a mixture of emotions. So there was a major choreography moment coming up, and we just said, just don't come on. It's okay. We're gonna cover you. Just don't come on. Intermission comes, and we basically are like, well, great. What are we gonna do? Because they're about to cover certain tracks, and one of the big ones that we were saving her voice for was Electric Skate 3. So, me thinking just who's here, what I'm able to do when I'm not on stage, I just go, hey, let me be Electric Skate 3. Amelia, who's my swing, is here, can do my fangirl scene while the scene is going on, and then can take on over for Chop to the Top with the scene afterwards, but I'll be Electric Skate 3. I know the line, rock and roll, and I will quickly just look at the video recording of the track, and I'll talk with all the other Electric Skate actors and be like, what am I doing?
Wow.
So that's probably the most chaotic. We already had, I think it was 7 swings / understudies, and then I became an 8th.
Wow. That's crazy.
Was that wasn't the show that David Lipschitz went on as Squidward, was it?
No, that was actually
okay.
David Lipschitz, who was Patchy, was actually absent this day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that was the show that I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was having lots of
Squidward.
fun. Yeah, he was great.
Oh my god. He was so great. I mean, I love Squidward's such a fun role. Like, the I'm not a loser is just a bop.
Yeah.
But I get, so if this says anything to kind of talk about the week, so that day happened, and then it turned out that our actor had COVID. So that's why they were feeling sick. So we made sure to do all the safety, security, everything. Everyone tested. We were all fine. So just that continuation of that week, I was the Electric Skate 3. We had someone else step in for Patchy the Pirate. And it was that same weekend, though, where then I had to be SpongeBob. So then we had to have my swing then basically take on this honorary track that I made of being the mayor, and then Electric Skate 3 while I was SpongeBob.
Oh, wow.
And then we also had our other actor being Patchy / Perch.
So when this was all happening, like, how were those decisions made? Like, were they just among the cast? Was your stage manager involved? Was JD or Leo involved?
It was kind of a mixture of internal cast and also the stage management crew. Like, specifically for the Electric Skate 3 thing, that was me. I was like, we don't have anything. The show must go on. I'll do it. Yeah. And then I believe then it was sort of maybe it was stage management and Co-Candy were kind of talking about now what? Because Corbin, who was our stage manager, did text me and said, hey, are you willing and interested in taking on the track of Electric Skate 3 this week? And I was like, yep, that's fine. So I'm assuming they did the same as well for Sydney, who was Perch, to also be Patchy. So I do feel like there were a lot of like last minute mixture of cast and mixture of stage management crew decisions. Like, we even, because everything was so chaotic with all the illnesses, we had to even get another swing inserted into our cast kind of mid-run because we're like, we don't have enough people.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that show is a pretty big hit. Like, you guys sold out a lot, right?
Yeah, we had some pretty good houses. Like, yeah. SpongeBob's a hit. SpongeBob's a fun show. But I do also understand, like, it is a big show. There's a lot of pieces.
How many actors are in the main cast? Like 20?
Maybe. I was about to say, I think around 20-ish.
Yeah. That's a huge cast.
It's a big cast.
And everybody is so freaking talented. It was
annoying.
Thank you.
Yeah, but pretty much everyone played multiple characters. Like, if you weren't the main trio and then, like, I think Squidward, Plankton, like those kind of named characters, you were multiple characters.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
But it was fun.
All right. We're going to take a break, and we will have more with Connar Brown right after this.
Woo woo.
Yay. All right. We are back with Connar Brown, and this is The Breakdown.
All right, Connar. This episode's question is, what is, as understudy, as a principal, and any involvement in the theater at all, right? What's like the biggest, very sudden obstacle that you had to overcome in the moment to keep the show flowing?
Yeah, so beyond the electric skate thing, one that I can keep in mind, and I'll keep this show and person vague because it's kind of funny, so I don't want to out them out. But basically this actor was just on stage, and then we had a number come up where they had to bring on some props and some obstacles, and they weren't there. We're like, what's going on? And we had some people just kind of check the bathrooms, and they couldn't find them. And so we're like, well, who's available? Just come on, bring this on, put it here, blah, blah, blah. And we did the number, and we're all kind of panicking, going like, oh my goodness, they have a scene coming up. Where are they? And then just like a few minutes later, they just come like down the stairs, all happy. And we're like, of course, I'm the first one that they see. I'm just staring at them. And they go, hey, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. What's up? We're like, where were you? We just did this number without you. And he's like, oh, it was a bathroom emergency. I had to go to the bathroom. We're like,
wow.
But they checked the bathrooms. Like, oh, I went to the other one that was less public. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's amazing. They had a special bathroom need.
Listen, when you gotta go, you gotta go. Better
It's
in the
true.
bathroom than on the stage. But it was just, everything was fine. And then suddenly we're like, where's so-and-so?
Yeah. Oh, that's mortifying. And they sounds like they were like super calm about the show getting back without them. Like I've had two things, but you made me think of a different one. But there's a theater I used to work at, and the stage manager was awesome. I did several shows at that theater, and he would always check for everybody coming out of intermission or even at the top, but definitely like making sure. And then one day, they just started Act 2 without me, and like literally. And not because I was in the bathroom, right? Like I don't even really know what happened except for the show was starting and they did like this first part.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like came around to like where I would have ended up if I had gone across the stage with everyone else like I should have.
Yeah.
So that I was able to go around and then appear on that side with all of like what the fuck on my face because
Goodness.
And I'm so used to him like making sure we're all in place, and like so not only did he not the person that I would have entered with like still was just like everybody seemed like unfazed that I wasn't there and ready at the top of Act 2. That was very
Can I share another one?
Yes.
Let me think of it. Okay. So with SpongeBob, one of the things, there's like a bit where at the start of the show, Patchy the Pirate's on the stage, and then there are two security guards who cut him off. But in our production, we did the Saints, which if you don't know, they're kind of like theater ushers, basically, volunteers. So one time at the top of the show, there was like a full credit. There was a bunch of like tech things going on. So many things are going on in Corbin's mind, but basically, usually they say places and we get to walk around and we're ready to exit from the house. But one time, Patchy the Pirate just started talking and we're like, oh, crap. So we had to like run and we very much missed our cue. So Patchy was just like frozen on stage a little bit. And then there was another time when Act 2, we also cut them off. This was a different show, but we make our way down through basically a catwalk back to the house, and then somehow the door for the catwalk was locked, so we couldn't get into the house. So we just ended up going all the way back and just entered from behind the stage.
Wow. That's bananas. I'm not gonna lie, these things are the reason I love theater.
Oh my God.
Like if I ever have to choose between screen work and theater, I'm always gonna choose. I mean, I love the storytelling. I love many things about it, but that kind of the adrenaline, what it takes to figure something out, to resolve a matter on the spot, to keep things moving, like that is invigorating to me.
There's something fun about it for sure.
Yeah. Scott, what about you?
I haven't had that many like crazy moments on stage. I can't even think of one where I was like left hanging for like a minute or anything like that. But what is coming to mind is I was doing a tour of a children's show. There were two of us and 75 kids, and we were directing. We were in the show, and everything else. So it was like our first week And they told us to like know the entire script, not just your role, know
Ugh.
everything.
Those are always
And
crazy.
I was like, why would I have to know everything? That's crazy. Wow, how could I even do that?
Right?
Well, so like it never really went bad, but like I did have a like a music stand backstage, like right behind the curtain, so that like if somebody didn't know their line, I could run off and like look at the script and like feed it back to them. Yeah, it did happen a couple times. And
Gosh.
I mean, but with kids like and their parents watching, it's just like they're
Mhm.
you know they're used to things being a little like wonky sometimes with children performing. So but that was definitely one where like I felt like I hadn't really sweated on stage for a very long time, and then that day came and like I was drenched. I was just like I could feel it in my back, like how just I was out of it. I was completely out of it.
Did you learn your lesson about when somebody tells you to do something, you better do it? I had my dress split on
Oof.
like right before my entrance. This was back in my Detroit theater days, and I had a dress that I had actually worn for my own reception, my own wedding reception. I'm no longer married, but we used it in this show. And yeah, so one day I changed it to it. My buddy zipped it up, and it was like, no. The zipper was just like, ah. And then like she's late for her cue, trying to help me, and I'm like, you gotta go. But the only saving grace, so I did have to come out, and I face in the audience, like they wouldn't really see. So the only saving grace was that the moment I come out in that dress is the final moment of Act One. And so all I had to do was come to the spotlight. I'm at a microphone and I inhale because we are to make them think I'm about to sing, but I don't. So and I inhale and then there's a blackout. And like that's the whole time with that dress on. But it was like a 2-show day. So between shows, I had to run around and find a dress that could work. And I did. And I actually still have both because my mom made the reception one, but the other one that I used for that show, I still have that dress. And that was more than half a lifetime ago.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, that was, and that's probably, I don't know if I could say it's the worst thing, but in terms of thinking of things,
It's
in this
something for
moment,
sure.
it was kind of a big deal. Same theater though, at least I didn't bust my head on a doorway and bleed and still do to the show, which someone else in that theater, in a different show, like that happened to him. And he just kept going. He definitely like needed medical attention.
No.
It was
Oh,
bad. He
God,
came
that's
out with
scary.
like blood like running down his forehead, and we were all like we're just supposed to go on, and yeah,
Like,
and then we did.
What show was that? The Goater Who is Sylvia? Like, what was that?
No, this was also back in Detroit. It was the
Oh,
same
okay.
theater where my dress split.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Well, now it's time for props.
All right. And during props, we like to give shouts out to other understudies, our overstudies, stage managers, or assistant directors who have helped us get prepared for our understudy roles. So, Connor, who do you have props for?
Yeah, so today I have the props pretty much, first off, for like the whole SpongeBob cast, truthfully, as internal understudies, swings, main cast. Like everyone was so supportive and so helpful for just everybody, like making sure people were very prepared for their tracks and roles, even if it was so last minute or well in advance. But I'm going to name drop the swings in particular: Amelia Bell, Abby DeMauro, Kenny Miller, and Justin McPike for being on the toes almost all the time and very much doing their roles a lot more times than I think any of them had planned for. As well as Corbin Polino, the stage manager, and then as well JD Caudle for being the director and believing in me as the SpongeBob understudy.
Yeah.
Yay.
And I'll throw out David Lipschitz again. Just a wonderful understudy performance that I think I went specifically because I knew he was doing Squidward that day. It worked in my schedule, and JD was going that night, so like. But I was really happy to see that, and it was such a smooth show. Like, it was a very well-oiled machine. So very well done. Any other prompts for anybody?
Like anybody? No.
No?
What about you?
I don't know. I'll give some props to. I just finished up birthday candles at Northlight. And that was an awesome experience. I think our stage manager Rita Vreeland was just awesome. She was like, before our rehearsals, before our understudy rehearsals, she would like be like, okay, look, this is not a test. This is not. I'm not, trying to suss out how good of an actor you are. This is just for you as an artist to do what you need to do to be ready. And that was really awesome. Everybody in that understudy cast killed it. Any one of us could have gone on. Nobody did. So yeah, that's my props.
Heck yeah.
Nice. I'm currently, which of course will be way done, working on a project called Wants and Needs. It's a site specific. I'm directing 2 short plays, and the cast of both those plays are exceptional, and doing the work that they did prior to us starting, the conversations we've had. I am working with 5 really great actors who made me feel useless as a director, because they're just like, they just got it. Yeah. But it's been fun.
Yeah. I actually, since we're opening tonight, we don't have understudies for this show, Rosenberg. But we've had a very, very short rehearsal process, and just everybody really has been stepping up. So Dustin Rothbart is in the lead, and he's killing it. He's in every scene. He's really great. Sonia Robinson and Delisa Richards are also very, very good actors, and I'm really excited to do this show with them. And Abby DeMauro, double props to her. She's
100%. Because she was also understudy in I Promised Myself to Live Faster, so I was fortunate to get to work with her again too.
And I saw her. She was in the night that I went in too.
Yeah. She's so talented. Kills it. Okay, I want to give a prop to Alexis Aranda. I'm in a show right now called Grimm, and we have like 5-6 ensemble roles, and she is a super swing on understudy for pretty much everyone. And so she has a guaranteed on October 27th. So when this comes out, long gone. But props to her for learning so many tracks in the show.
That's awesome. Say hi to Ian for me.
I will.
Yeah, he's my old roommate.
Yes, I'm in a show right now called Grimm, which will be closed when this comes out. So why didn't you see it, audience?
Is it the Grimm fairy tale guys?
It is. We are Grimm Fairy Tales, retelling Grimm fairy tales.
And this is like the third
it
production
is.
of the
it's
show?
But
it is,
yeah.
Do you guys update different stories? Did I get that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
so it's kind of, we have like a main plot, but because there's so many Grimm fairy tales, you can kind of have the same show, except just swap out all the different fairy tales. So it's a different show every year. So it's kind of like the fun thrill of like, oh, what are they doing this year? Will I know any? Ooh, what are they keeping, if anything? Yeah. So it's just a fun show to come back to. I've done it all 3 years, three other actors have done it all 3 years. And then this year we just have one new actor from last year.
Awesome.
So it's just fun.
Who's doing that? Who produces it?
Oh, it's with Theater Above the Law. It's like right off the Jarvis Red Line stop.
Oh, it's in my
It
neighborhood.
is
I've never heard of it. I'm a big fan of Grimm. That sounds like something I would really enjoy seeing.
You would probably really enjoy it. We've got 5 more shows, so come check it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Connar, we like to finish the podcast with a question of what is some advice that either you would give your younger self, which, I mean, you're still like 20.
None of your business.
Don't ask my age. I'm 13.
Okay, I see. So what is some advice you'd give to your 8-year-old self?
Well, just that 5 years ago. No, just
or just any advice that you would give to actors who are coming into Chicago or coming into the business in some way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's super broad, but find the fun. Have fun. I feel like sometimes people forget that. They're like, it's just a job, or this is just a thing I've booked. But like, no, find the fun, find the play. And if it's something that you're really interested in, remember why you're doing it. It's for the fun. It's for the play, the imagination, the many wonderful people and castmates you'll get to meet and hang out with, and the little family that you make for the few months or weeks that you're all together. It's for the fun. Keep having fun.
Hell yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Connar, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was lovely.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a great deal. Thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation today with Connar Brown and that it gives deeper insight into the art of understudying.
To send us a question or give a suggestion of someone we should interview, email us at understudypodcast@gmail.com.
Or hit us up at UnderstudyPod on Facebook, Twitter, X, and Instagram.
We want to thank all our Patreon subscribers, especially Marcella Huff and Stanley Sava.
If you want to support the show, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/understudypod.
Our theme song and all other music are by Laura McKenzie.
Our episodes are edited by Scott and produced by Scott and me.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice and tell your friends.
If you hated it, tell your enemies.
And their parents.
And their stupid parents.
Bye.
Bye.